No. Winston Churchill said once, when you find the job you love, you no longer have to work.
And what is it about politics that you love? What is it about
giving, public platform, civic duty, community contributions, making a difference. That's what I enjoy about it. On Judgment Day, it won't be about how much money we've earned. It'll be, what is the difference that you have made to the country where you were privileged to be born? So that's my attitude. A career, 36 years of public life and civic duty, and what an honour. And if I get a run by the people of Epsom again, I'm going to Wellington to make a further difference. A second parliamentary career at this very tender age.
So when did you learn that lesson about giving?
This journey started 16 years ago at the gates of a Russian orphanage.
Yes.
Where I met a little girl aged 9. She said to me, "If you take me home with you, sir, and all my little brothers, I'll sing and I'll dance for you forever."
Isn't that wonderful?
I said to that little girl, "I'm going to come back and I'm going to come and pick you up and all your little brothers and take you home to the greatest little country on earth. And it's that greatest little country on earth, I want to keep the greatest little country on earth in these extraordinary, difficult times for New Zealand. So I want to deliver on the promise I made to that little girl so solemnly all those years ago at the gates of that Russian orphanage."
A lot of people are finding it tough at the moment. That we've had recessions before, which have seemed to have lasted about 18 months to 2 years, but this particular one it seems to be it's lingering well over its.
More's to come.
So what more to come, you think?
Much more to come.
Can a government do anything about it, or is it coming from the overseas?
Oh yes.
You can do something about it.
Well, this country hasn't paid its way since 1973. Any year since 1973. Not 3 years ago. We haven't paid our way for all of those years. We are borrowing for the housekeeping account $300 million a week. We cannot afford to have, for instance, universal student free, interest-free loans. We cannot afford to give the pension to people like me capable of earning and providing for myself at age 65. We cannot afford to go on strangling small business and small enterprise with red tape. We've got to invest in research and development and technology, and we've got to start cutting our cloth and paying our way. I've been in business for 45 years in this city.
Yes.
It has never been tougher. There's not one member of Parliament in the present Parliament that's had more business experience than me, that's put more capital at risk than me, that's employed more people than me, who's owned more enterprises than me. And consequently, I clearly understand for the 220,000 people who employ less than 10 in this country, it is tough times. And the government can make a difference by reining in government expenditure, by ordering priorities and making it easier for small people to make a quid.
But you see what happens in Greece. They have to have an austerity budget. And what happens? The streets are full of protesters. Nobody wants their little bit of income to be taken away from them. And the same will happen in New Zealand, won't it? The moment you start cutting things, they're on the street protesting. It's like they don't seem to understand that there's a bigger picture. They can only see what
it is
they're
ludicrous for the taxpayers watching this wonderful show tonight to be substantially funding my visits to a GP. My visits to a GP. I'm very capable of paying my own visits to my own GP. Why should the taxpayers fund that? There's going to be a day of reckoning. I can hear the flapping of the wings as the roosters come home. And the streets are going to be full of very, very high-powered, rich and famous people from Beijing who are going to knock on New Zealand's door one day and say, "No more credit. It's all over." So I'm serious about this. Our economic sovereignty should form the basis of all debate for this election. Let me give you one imperative that I'm going to chase down if I'm given a run at Parliament. It is wrong that we pay 27% of all teenagers, virtually 1 in 3 of all teenagers, out of school, out of education, out of training, out of work, out of hope, and on the dole. That's not the New Zealand I want. I want opportunities like I had, and opportunities for everyone. Half of all young Maori across the country, out of school, out of education, out of learning, out of an apprenticeship, out of work, out of hope, on a welfare benefit. That's not the country I want. The single challenge is this. In the next 10 years, 400,000 New Zealanders are expected to flee to Australia. That is, the population of metropolitan Wellington are expected to flee to Australia. The challenge is for us is to get the million New Zealanders that live offshore, mostly in Australia and Europe, to come home. So over a period of the next generation, we have to build a country where people say, I want to come back to paradise.
Well, how are we going to do that?
Well, there's a myriad of things we need to do. What we can't do is tax and spend and borrow and hope. Taxing, spending, borrowing and hoping has never worked. That's why I'm going to Parliament. In Epsom, if the people of Epsom vote for me, I'll bring in 2, 3, 4, 5 additional members of Parliament for a John Key-led government. My opponent in Epsom is going to win the seat anyway. He's going to be on the party list. He'll be in Parliament anyway on the party list. So people voting for me in Epsom will get 2, 3, 4, 5 additional centre-right thinking
supporters for John
Key.
So it's an intelligent vote to vote for you and let your national opponent go into Parliament as a list MP.
Yes, it's a strategic vote. Epsom is deeply blue, Jared, as you know. 364 days of the year, they're deeply blue and committed to the National Party. One day every 3 years, they vote strategically, and I'm hoping that they're going to do it again, because it's not about me.
Well,
it's about the future of this country.
What are they, you're talking to them on a day-to-day basis. Are they going to do that, do you think?
I'm quietly confident.
You're doing polls, etc.?
Oh yes, we're quite. Half of the people are undecided. You wouldn't be surprised at that. In the middle of a fabulous Rugby World Cup, when on the doorstep, they don't want to. They want to talk about. They want to talk about Richie McCaw's ankle. They don't want to talk about my headspace around politics.
We're all waiting for the World Cup to finish.
Well, of course, most people aren't interested in politics, but politics is interested in most people.
Now, John, what about us baby boomers? Coming up in December, John, you're going to be 65. And will you apply for the New Zealand super?
I would doubt it very much. I would doubt it very much. I'm not in the slightest bit interested in receiving a pension. I'm not quite sure how you get it, but that's okay. But what I can tell you is something very significant. Right now, there are 18 baby boomers on the pension for every 100 workers. In 25 years' time, there'll be 42 pensioners for every 100 workers. Now, what I'm telling you tonight is there's no way the eligibility for the national superannuation will stay at 65. Believe me, if the next government doesn't do it, the following government will have to do it. That is a no-brainer.
Well, John, you've got a busy time between, say, now and Election Day, 26th of November. What are you going to be doing?
Convincing the good people of the Epsom electorate that a vote for me is a vote for additional members of Parliament for a John Key-led government on the 26th of November. It's a strategic vote I'm looking for from the people of Epsom. So, doorstep to doorstep, bus stop to bus stop,
knock,
on the
knock,
streets,
yeah.
door knock, and work and work. Nothing changes.
You've always enjoyed that part of it, haven't
Course,
you?
of course.
It's good.
You know something? You've got to be very careful. A lot of people die in bed. Got to keep working.
Get in on that, though, John. Best of luck.